This channel has been a fun vehicle to try a bunch of games. Often as I play, I'll think to myself, this was pretty neat, maybe there were some interesting gameplay moments or story beats I enjoyed, I'm glad I tried it. But I'm always hoping for that game. You know, the one that really wows you, the type with so much gusto that makes you happy enough to start laughing as you play, where you get so into it, it reminds you why you love this medium to begin with. The overall package with plenty of charisma to see you to the credits, where there's a shift from when you started to where you finished. As time marches ever forward, I find that feeling tough to recapture, and often you reach that uncomfortable truth that your taste may be different and thus some things just don't click with you. But in those moments, as long as you keep looking, sometimes a game comes along that gives you that feeling once again, in a way you didn't expect. The developer System Erasure has done something I thought was impossible. I have felt that excitement for the medium not once, but twice in the 2 games they put out at this time of recording. Seriously, Void Stranger and ZeroRanger are some of the most fun I've had playing games in a while. They are insanely polished and really, really good. They're also cult classics that haven't gotten the credit they properly deserve. I've talked about Void Stranger before, though very vaguely to keep a lot of its surprises unrevealed. This video is going to be focusing on the first game of System Erasure's catalog, the shoot-'em-up, ZeroRanger. Here's how we're going to do this. I finished the game, and this video is going to talk about the experience from start to finish. I'm going to expand on certain points, and you're more than welcome to hop out at any point to avoid further spoilers. But I'm aware some of you may want to know more. After all, your money and time are an important resource, and you might want to see where this ride takes us. If that's the case, then welcome aboard, and let's rock. After booting up the Erasure OS and picking a username, you're given the setup. An alien force codenamed Green Orange is invading the planet. Most of the defenses have been taken over, and the main fighter, Type A, codenamed Grapefruit, has lost contact. Now 2 secondary fighters remain. Things are looking pretty rough. Should we give up? Nah, dude, we just started. Okay then, good luck. You'll need it. That's all your background info for the game. The stakes are high, and chances are things aren't going to work out. But you already bought it, so you begin stage 1. After a very straightforward tutorial, arrow keys to move and Z to fire, you hop in, birds soaring in the sky as you get familiar with the game's layout. Enemies will fly on the screen, and you gotta shoot them down and dodge the projectiles. Things seem pretty straightforward. You might get hit a few times, but that's to be expected. You might even take down the boss, you ace pilot, well done. But then a warning blares. And then you meet the real boss. This guy is nuts. He's got this spread on both sides, mixing in missiles to keep you on your toes, followed by their casings plummeting to the ground below. Then a circular pattern of bullets, and if you get him on his last legs, a spiral. But that might be a bit too much to handle right now. You're shown the score screen, and as you enter your name, you may notice your cursor is automatically moving to the letters of your username, as the narrator offers encouragement. And after seeing the results, you're given a message. You had it rough, didn't you? You've entered a vicious cycle of life and death. You must follow the noble path to escape it. Be warned though, as you cling on to this cycle, your desires poison your mind. Ignorance, attachment, aversion. Feeding those unwholesome thoughts will only lead to more suffering. May you attain enlightenment. And as you're sitting there, trying to unpack all that just happened, the game's proper opening plays, and just take a listen and tell me this doesn't get you psyched. Okay, this game's gonna be amazing. This is the first attempt of ZeroRanger. You know how the game works and what's expected of you. It's gonna be a learning curve, but with the extra life you just got, it's not impossible. You know something's going on in the background, and the only way to find out is to get further in. That is the hook of ZeroRanger. Besides learning its mechanics, you might have some curiosity of how this plays out. What's gonna happen next? Like Void Stranger, unraveling both its gameplay mechanics and mysteries is a core draw of the game for a newcomer. And here's something that's really cool about getting into it. It's a lot more accessible than you may first assume. It's a shoot 'em up made with veterans and newcomers in mind. It accomplishes this in a couple of ways. Remember how the intro mentioned there are 2 fighters remaining? Well, turns out, if you fiddle around in the stage menu, you can change the fighter from Type C, codenamed Decker, to Type B, codenamed Rib. While Decker has a narrow shooting radius, only in a straight line, Rib has a wider shot. It's weaker the further it goes, but you hit more targets with it. And the second thing is, when you die, you can use one of the lives you got to try that section again. It resets your score, but it doesn't push you all the way back at the start. If you're craving a higher score, you can restart from the beginning, but if you're not, it's no big deal. And this is what I meant by it working for both veterans and newcomers. If you're familiar with this type of game, scores are there to show mechanical mastery. But if you're new, it's an option that can be ignored as you get better on your terms. Let's say you run out of lives and bite the dust. Well, don't sweat it happens to everyone. As long as you got some points from it, this will fill up the Lotus Flower. If it's filled the whole way, you get another life. That aspect always guarantees you're making progress, not only in memorizing the enemy patterns or the stage's pacing, but also giving you more resources to try again. And if you got another controller, ZeroRanger can be played with a friend or sibling, which is insanely dope. It's been a while since I've seen games having the same screen co-op, but this is a cool addition. What I love about this section of ZeroRanger is that progress always seems like it's happening. Even if you're stuck on a stage, if you get past the first one, you can pick one of 2 power-ups. For stage 1, you can get a back shot or a horizontal one. These 2 will feel a bit different depending on which fighter you play with. And if you die on stage 2, you can hop right back into it with all your lives and even change which power-ups you start with. ZeroRanger wants to make it as easy as possible to get into it, and as someone who isn't really familiar with the genre but finished it, I think the game nailed it. I also enjoy its look too. The emphasis on the colors green and orange are more than just a stylistic choice for the background. As mentioned, it's the code name for the enemy force, and it also represents visual indicators for the mechanics. Most of the subjects in the game, from enemies to your own ship, are colored green, and projectiles are orange. So it conditions you that when you see orange coming at you, you better get out of the way ASAP. It makes the game have its own visual identity. There's nothing that looks quite like ZeroRanger, which looks pretty slick. The game is also accompanied by a high-energy soundtrack that really hypes you up, like the boss theme, and as the experience goes along, songs that make you feel tension to quite an overwhelming degree. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What ZeroRanger, much like Void Stranger does, is keep you on your toes. Not the player character, but you, watching this right now. For every step you take in these games, you are given constant reveals, plot-wise and mechanically. Take Stage 3 for example. As you progress, you fight a big robo-snake, a train, this thing, anticipation builds up as the boss warning begins. You have seen this warning twice before. There's a fleet ready to rock, and then... If you beat them, you're given a new power-up. With the other ones, you get a visual of what it does. This is what picking it with Rib looks like. Where the really big moments start to happen is on stage 4. So at this point, you put a few hours into this game, perhaps slowly but surely crawling your way through the stages. What follows is the longest so far, from space to the heart of Green Orange's base, and you'll notice the enemies start to change a little. The mini-bosses from stage 1 and 2 transform into heads that look like they're from Buddhist statues. Further on, after doing this cool section with all these skulls, you'll fight this big one, and notice the enemy's weak point. At the moment, you might just be focused on staying alive. I mean, look at this. But when safely distanced, see how the eye is placed on their forehead, representing the third eye in religions like Hinduism or Buddhism, another visual indicator of enlightenment that is repeated near the end of the first part of the stage. That boss also attacks you with it, shooting what looks like jewels that break into particles bearing a resemblance to petals. And when you beat them, you enter through the section that once held their eye to the next part. I'm not the brightest bulb in the batch, but seeing it in retrospect, that is a cool way of adding to the game's themes that I'll talk about near the end. In the second part of Stage 4, we're given a reveal. Turns out the voice that's been our narrator, Erasure, who's been cheering for us after every failed attempt, has been taken over by Green-Orange. Yet in this position, forced to fight against us, with the chance of our survival being 0, they issue a command: do not give up. What follows is a boss rush mode. Rather than enemies we fought before, it puts us in battles against new foes, offering an additional health point for our victories against them, some being callbacks to other titles. This one in particular got a chuckle out of me, but the boss I want to discuss is this one. There are 2 ways this can go down. The first is shooting him. He calls you a foolish warrior of Menusa, and in doing a couple of quick Google searches, turns out Menusa translates in English to human being, which is pretty neat. Wait a minute, I've seen this fight before! That's a cool reference. I like how the attack colors are very straightforward allusions to the other's fight, but also how it tweaks it with the borders on the top and bottom, making it feel like a historical tapestry brought to life. The second solution is just shooting the nose bubble that offers a peaceful encounter. He explains he's from the distant future. They once fought our foe ages ago, but are now trapped out of spite. He laughs at our attempt to defeat them before offering us a story, one of a god who wished to become. The encounter suddenly ends as the computer realizes we're still alive. To prevent their master from seeing us, they have a solution that won't require any further bloodshed. As we travel across, seeing pockets of other places, a bird flies forward on the screen as we are transported back to Stage 1. First time I played this, I did a double take. I had no idea what just happened. If you die, rather than the usual intro video, a new one plays. Now, I'm no game lore expert here, but here's the summary of what I got from this. Long ago, there were these giant onion dudes who showed up and killed a bunch of humans, but then this figure that looks like a fighter ship destroyed the onions instead, and the remaining humans grew and prospered in the ruins of this conflict as the fighter flew into space. Currently, this adds more questions than answers, but ZeroRanger will be sure to answer them in due time. Right now, looking through the stage menu, there's one labeled 2-1. Congratulations, you've now entered the second loop. In this section, you play through all the stages again, but this time, you'll have your power-ups from before, and they change up the bosses, like defeating Stage 1, and immediately after the stage clear, how about a Phase 2? And booting up Stage 2 of 2, the text says it smells like onions. What a quirky thing to say. I don't see a kitchen down here. Ha ha ha, very funny, good one ZeroRanger. So we beat the boss and get ready for their second phase. Oh dear. Turns out the game was trying to do me a solid and foreshadow one of the last remaining onion fellas paying us a visit. It's possible to defeat this guy, or you can stall for time and book it out of there. Either one results in a victory. Moving on to Stage 2 of 3, before jumping into its big moments, I just want to mention how good this song is. It's called The Sea Has Returned. This is my favorite stage of the game, and this song really contributes to that. When the sax kicks in, paired with the creamsicle colored sky, it's just perfect. At the end of Stage 2-3, there's another battle with the mysterious figure. Defeating them results in the fleet battle and a premature ending. Sharing this ordeal we find ourselves in is called the Second Apocalypse, and suggests that we're missing something very important. But let's say that we decided to transform into our ZeroRanger form, gifted from the last encounter. We catch them by surprise, and after cutting a ship in two like it's nothing, it's revealed the ZeroRanger in front of us is the main fighter, Type A Grapefruit. After the fight, we move to Stage 2-4, and if there's anything you heard about this game, chances are it's this section. If you're new to this and still here, I'm honored I get to be the one to show you. It's gonna get nuts. We approach Erasure once again, and the display of our grit, of pushing through all the struggles, has convinced them that their hopes of winning are destined to fail. So they hand us the last power-up. And that's ZeroRanger. It's a game that's short and sweet, the type that knows when to end and provides you with a satisfying conclusion. Sorry for messing you with the whole montage. I wanted to pretend I was subverting your expectations. All the cool kids are doing it. This YouTube channel is called Pollymacho, and thanks for watching. Subscribe. Huh? Ah, who am I kidding? This isn't your first rodeo. You knew the fake out was coming, you clever rascal. Let's just dive into it. So final boss starts with our pilot getting an insane upgrade. Looks like we're now a main fighter with the amount of guns strapped on, cutting down enemies and deploying a bomb every time we take damage. Final boss ends with us fighting the foe King Onion, before attaining a power-up that makes us even stronger, crashing us to flip ball, reminding us of the good old days when you see pinball machines at the arcade. Gotta say, this is pretty sweet. I wasn't much of a pinball guy myself, but I... Final boss ends with us fighting the foe King Onion, before attaining a power-up that makes us even stronger, crashing us to Fairy Blade, an old school RPG in the vein of the original Dragon Quest. Ah, dang! Onion Golem looks like they're ready to... Final boss ends with us fighting the foe King Onion, before attaining a power-up that makes us even stronger. But something feels off, so we destroy it instead, revealing final boss was just a simulation to keep us distracted, before being saved by the memory of grapefruit. The dialogue here will depend on which fighter you have. If you're using Type B, you learn that they're all sisters. So after breaking the charade, Erasure pieces out and we travel deeper into the base. Meeting these cell enemies, the orange ones can be defeated while the green just grow when attacked. They clump together pretty quick, so be on guard. Arriving at the very bottom, we encounter the Master, kicking off the fight with 4 sets of battles with jewels, starting with 1, then 2, followed by 3, and then 6. This can be quite a tricky part, as if you destroy one jewel with another left, it's gonna respawn, so try to weaken them all if you can, then go in for the kill. Then, we move to the next phase. First time attempting, it's overwhelming. The piano keys going ham, the background, the boss reveal, the multitude of attack patterns, it's nuts. If you're using the Rib Fighter, the charge shot that acts as a temp shield is really good for learning the boss's moves. There are a couple of funky bits to be ready for. This outline of the Lotus Flower is one of them. Duck out of there ASAP or get fried. There's this move that traps you in a box as gems fly out. Making contact creates circles to dodge. Stay away from the top and bottom or you're gonna get hit by the spikes. If she puts one of her arms out, get ready, she's gonna throw hands. Or summon big ones you need to dodge, peppering in pellets from the orange ones. There's a variation of this where the hands will follow you around, so don't stay still for too long. Another move has her teleport to your fighter and swipe, occasionally mixing in a large vertical explosion if she's feeling devious at the moment. This move will try to box you in with fire from above and lasers below that'll bounce off the sides, rising higher. And this will have a laser indicating where the crosses will shoot. This one can get the better of you if you're not careful and will explode when all laid out. If you can remove one of the boss's bars, you can cancel whichever move she's currently performing. That's quite a lot, isn't it? Well, one of the reasons I wanted to highlight these moves is to express how cool it was to whittle the boss down to 0 without any lives remaining. And to convey how much this next part hurts. Let's do it again. So it turns out the boss actually has another trick up her sleeve. This phase is going to spam the Lotus Flower move across the screen, so keep moving and hit her with all you got. In a panic, the charge shot is a lifesaver. Once you do that and defeat the boss, there's still more to do. We get an escape sequence, enemies throwing out a bunch of attacks and explosions from below, destroy your power-ups one by one. Your ship sustains critical damage, but you're so close. The fighter refuses to crumble. The exit is just above. Hang in there. When you regain consciousness, you meet with Erasure in the cosmos. As the game over music plays, you're informed of the situation. Your fighter and its weapons are destroyed. You're not long for this world. And while you were asleep, the forces of Green-Orange destroyed what remained of the planet's defenses. Sending you back to the beginning will just keep restarting. So Erasure offers you a gamble. The primal fighter you defeated released an incredible amount of power, one that your ship can utilize, sending you back in time to their creation and defeat the fighter in its original form. But in doing this, there's no safety net for you. You've only got one shot at this. Will you take it? Now, I've been walking you through the experience of ZeroRanger to highlight the importance of this moment. Remember the lotus flower you make progress on every time you die, the one that gives you continues on a stage? Well, at this moment, in this Hail Mary, if you choose to play ball and make this gamble, the remaining continues you have will be sacrificed for your lives in this section, not the amount you have total, the ones you have left from the stage. I've enjoyed other stories. I know the dark night of the soul when I see one. Of course I'll do it, even with just one life. Let's do this! So Erasure sends you back to the time of origin. This is the point where the game explains its lore. Long ago, the Menusa were given life along with the other creatures, all basking in the light of the flower, known as the Lotus Jewel. But the desire for more than gazing at its brilliance was too strong, and the Menusa took it and fled. Their actions were not hidden for long. So that tapestry I poorly described at the start of the second loop only told part of the story. They weren't attacked for no reason, they were hunted for stealing this otherworldly gift. To protect themselves, they created a god to defend against the threats of the cosmos. But once the battle was done, the Menusa grew worried. As long as light glimmered in the stars, they would be hunted forever. So they decided to attack first, traveling across space, snuffing out any life by devouring it. The generations born from this would never consider the truth, that the Menusa and the ships you pilot called fighters are powers that are one and the same. Now it's a battle of whose resolve is stronger. But with this setup, it raises the question you may be asking as you watch, what if you dumpster the Hail Mary? Well, don't worry, I certainly did, and here's the result. After booting up the Erasure OS and picking a username, you're given the setup. An alien force codenamed Green Orange is invading the planet. Most of the defenses have been taken over, and the main fighter, Type A, codenamed Grapefruit, has lost contact. Now 2 secondary fighters remain. Things are looking pretty rough. Should we give up? Stakes are an interesting subject in video games. Most will have the illusion that all will be lost when you lose. But if you just load a save or try again, the memory of your will faltering is paved over with victory. I don't know of many games that punish failure by fumbling the bag at the last moment. But as I'm sure you've pieced together with that earlier paragraph, if you lose in that section in ZeroRanger, the game will wipe your progress and start you right back when you played the first time. The only thing left behind are your results from previous attempts. This is the make it or break it part of ZeroRanger, and you need to decide if you want to engage with that. You see, the very thing that makes System Erasure fascinating as a developer is what could be the biggest red flag for sticking with it. As I mentioned in the Void Stranger video, on their website, the developers mention how their goal is to make games that are something else. What I consider that something else to be is an uncompromising vision for their projects. A declaration of sticking to their guns and making what they want to make, regardless of the pushback. This could be from the kind of genre they choose to work in, or aspects that could seem obtuse or nonsensical to an outside viewer. ZeroRanger is accessible at the start. There's a gradual learning curve that anyone, such as myself, who's new to the shoot-'em-up genre can slowly piece together and make progress with. And right at the end, when the stakes become real, when there is a tangible sense of loss to the experience, if you stumble in the end, your save, the progress you've been carving for however long, is wiped. It's a punishing way to do a finale. If you wanted to, you could back up your save and do it on your terms. You play games the way you want to. Though, here's something to consider. The game has been built around this moment. If you remember, the cutscene that played when I lost is the same one that starts the game, implying that your introduction was just another run of the cycle. Throughout the game, you're told that failure is to be expected, success will likely be dashed, yet you keep struggling. You dodge and weave shots, making more progress than before, and when it says game over, you refuse and continue, either on that section or the stage. And consider the Buddhist imagery spread throughout, the lotus flowers, the third eyes, the quest for enlightenment. It's more than just visual style, it reminds you to keep going. Suffering is inevitable, but it's through that suffering that the meaning comes in. At the start of each attempt, you're told to stay the course, take the noble path to escape the cycle of life and death. Your desires poison your mind, ignorance, attachment, and aversion. Feeding into these will only lead to more suffering. At least speaking personally, I absolutely fed into that. I cursed and hollered at my multiple failures. In fact, just to be transparent here, I lost against that final section 6 times, which meant I played the cycle of all I described above on 6 different occasions. It got to me so much, I had my username in one attempt to be Salt and another Yeah, I got so frustrated with it, it felt so cheap and unfair to go through all that and to lose to a new style of play, damaging the boss by moving into its weak point rather than shooting it from afar. But even if it was, what would lamenting about my lost progress do for me? All it did was bum me out about what's no longer there. What makes these cycles of failure bearable is something that ZeroRanger nails no matter how far you get. It's a great game. Once you play through it once, getting to the final boss takes only a couple of hours. The stages are full of secrets and small touches that are a blast to discover. Like, if you go in one direction for a while and then flip to the other side, your fighter does this cool little spin animation that's awesome. Or on stage 2, if you destroy the heart-shaped box, a lady shows up. ZeroRanger is a joy to play. There are multiple occasions where I just started laughing, not because of a comedic moment, but because I was enjoying it so much. And when you play it enough, you start to get better. Enemy attack patterns that looked overwhelming before are dodged with ease, and your score counter goes higher and higher. Occasionally, the game will have the text of a stage clear saying, "Next time you'll make it unscratched," and I chuckled at that. Then every once in a while, that happened and the game said, "You're untouchable." It was crazy. Because the game is so straightforward with its controls and there aren't huge upgrade trees or character progression, when you lose, you know it won't be that long before you get back to where you were. You shrug, enter your name, and boot up stage 1. Ultimately, if you decide to try ZeroRanger, how you approach it is your call. The game puts a lot on its players to see the end. If you look at the game pages for ZeroRanger and Void Stranger, you'll see reviews saying these games are some of the best they've ever played, masterpieces that will remain classics in their hearts for a long time. And on those same pages, you'll see others not click with it, frustrated with the demands it places on those who forked over the cash to play it. Where you stand on this is up to you. There's no wrong answer here. At least for me. I'm willing to play ball. Though after 6 failures, I lost some resolve. If I died again, I was gonna back up my save and keep going until I succeeded. I didn't have a 7th run in me. But that backup never happened, because on that 7th try, it clicked. There's this move on the final part where these orbs and pellets are barraging you. There's no opening in sight. But then I noticed the pellets died down. All you need to do is survive long enough for an opening, and then it just clicked. Against all odds, if you pull this off, Erasure is impressed with your efforts, defying the laws of the universe and creating a new world after returning this one to 0. They reveal their true form and thank you for all you've done, empathizing that her sister must have felt so lonely traveling the stars and doing what she did, and wonders if they'll be born into a new future before fading away. The game boots up again, but the green in the color palette is replaced with gray. The new world has truly been created. You've unlocked a couple of things. The first are color palettes. The game's got a couple of different looks you can play with. My personal favorite is Cool Day. Love the mix of blue and pink. But now the mode green-orange is labeled normal. So if you're curious like I was and play through it, you'll notice the game is almost the same, but there's some visual differences in the enemies. The monk is replaced with a goofy joke encounter, and after defeating the final boss in the escape sequence, the game gives you that happy ending. There's also another mode called White Vanilla that acts as a time attack mode, but I've spoiled an insane amount already. I'm gonna leave that one a surprise if you check it out. And the game's hard mode, named Black Onion, is yet to be released. But that's ZeroRanger. I had so much fun with this game, and when I beat the final boss, I felt a huge amount of triumph. I'm not sure I would have felt that way if I didn't start again multiple times, but in hindsight, I appreciate the struggle. If you stuck around, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got some enjoyment out of this video, and wish you a great time if you give ZeroRanger a shot. The links to the game is in this video's description. While I try to be a positive person, I do find myself occasionally disheartened in this media landscape. It seems like a lot of entertainment is meant to be the biggest and shiniest product that unintentionally blends together and doesn't feel special anymore, where the most important part is the production value and the quantity, not the experience itself. This can apply to a lot of things really. Movies, shows, online content, etc. Whoever compromises their vision first in the name of success wins a big bag of money and a crisp high five. And that sounds incredibly vague and unfair to assume, I know. Everyone's just trying their best. But what keeps me going and enjoying this hobby is when you play something that really clicks with you, that resonates just right and you love spending time with. In other words, a game where you have fun. And that's all it needs to be. System Erasure has done that twice for me, and I wanted to make this video to express that, but also for the chance it might click with you too. Because one of the best things you can do when you experience something special is to share it with others. It may not be the same for them, they may just think it's alright or they don't like it, but trying is the important part, because it has the chance to turn out pretty sweet, and I like those odds. I hope these guys get the credit they rightfully deserve, and more people can enjoy these games. And don't get me wrong, if this video contributes to that and blows up, that would be pretty sick. The ego would be most pleased. But realistically, System Erasure, you've got yourself another fan. Thanks for making games that are something else. This YouTube channel is called Pollymacho, and viewer, thank you so much for watching. If you're new, subscribe if you'd like to see some more cool stuff, drink plenty of water, take care of yourself, and I'll see you around. May you attain enlightenment.